Hey guys, so I've been working with the MDF CNC router here. I made some changes to it. I put it on feet and I leveled it with my high precision level there that I use for my mill and my lathe. And it didn't really change the characteristics of the distortion. It was still pretty big. And that's when I noticed that the pipes here are out, but they're not out enough to cover that. But I also noticed that these two pipes here seem, certainly is much higher at this end, but that's also compounded by the fact that this pipe here is down too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little adapter to support these plates. I'm going to enlarge these holes here, and they'll have a little screw adjustment on them so that I can dial it up and I can press on the pipe and lift it up or push it to the side or push it outwards depending upon what I figure I need to do, so that they can be perfectly parallel and as well at the right height relative to the deck, because I don't really care about this distance. This can be whatever the hell it is, but if this distance here to here on all the pipes on this, the y-axis have to be consistent. So I'm gonna take care of that, or I'm gonna make one of these. I've changed out the bit to a proper router bit. I don't know if you can really see it there, but we'll see how well that works. You can actually see there's a fair bit of play here. Some of that is in just the mounting for the unit, but regardless, let's get cutting and we'll see how it turns out. Hey guys, so I don't know how much of that last attempt you will have caught. I'll put it in there anyways, but yeah, the camera ran out of battery power and I made a mistake. That was meant to cut all the way through, or 97% of the way through this material. So nearly 3/4 of an inch it should have cut, but it actually only ended up cutting just under a 1/4 inch because I went and I set the material thickness wrong when I generated the G-code file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this thing all up again, which it should be all ready to go. I just have to turn on this thing, which will probably glitch out the computer, but anyways, we'll turn that on and we'll try again here and see if we can go and try another cut. And I'm going to let it go. I put it back to 0, so it should be in the right spot to just basically air cut through a 1/4 of that and then really cut the rest of it. We'll see how it works. If it doesn't work, I'll have to try it all over again. Okay, so the piece is done, and you'll notice that it left a bit of a lower edge here. I don't know how well you can see that in the camera there. It's about 50 thou thick, and that was because I didn't want to cut all the way through and hit the deck of the thing here. It's a percentage cut you can set in the software I was using. And I set it to 97% cut, but it actually cut, it should have left about 25 thou, but it left about 50 thou. So I'll have to figure out why that happened. It may have been that this material is a little thicker than I thought. I'm not sure. You'll also have noticed that when it was cutting in the inner area here, every time it hit here and here, it would lift up when it got close to the bottom and then go back down. Same again on the outside. You can actually see some of it there. There's a little tab there. And the deal is that, yeah, you can see it in the inside as well. That's so that if you cut it, if you didn't put a tab in there, what would happen would be that once it cut all the way through this, if it did cut all the way through it, that piece would start rattling around in there up against the bit, and it would probably bind it up and probably cause something to go all wacky. Now, another thing you would have noticed when it was cutting the holes, it was not doing a spiral. It was doing a circle, then a drop, then it'd do another circle and a drop. Not the most efficient way of doing it because it pauses every time. It really should be doing like a helical cut, and it wouldn't have to stop every time it wants to go down. The holes look slightly out of round, and I don't know if it's just me because it doesn't look that way in the camera. But then again, the camera is a much smaller screen than my eyeballs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this thing out of here, just on the bandsaw. And we'll see how it goes. I broke that piece out just so you can see this a little bit better. But anyways, it seems to be fairly repeatable. You can see the difference in the spot where it did the first quarter inch and then where it did the half inch, but it was still pretty repeatable. I'm kind of puzzled about the oblong holes, but that may just be backlash, because that's the way that would be manifested, because it would pick up some slack, you know, and think it had moved some, and obviously the hole would have a bit of an oddball shape. That's probably why you can kind of see this one here. It seems to be pretty pronounced. It looks like there's an angle in this direction, and that would make sense that you wouldn't see it in just one direction. You'd see it in both directions. Anyways, let's cut this out and we'll have a look at it and see if it's a serviceable part. Okay, so I cleaned it up as best as I could. That stuff is a little bit thick to carve out of the center there, so it doesn't look too neat, and I sanded the outside a little bit too much. But this would have been a perfectly serviceable part. The holes are enough that I can take a piece of 1/4 inch and drop it through there. It's actually almost a little bit loose. And there's sufficient space for a pipe to go in the middle with the adjuster nuts that are going to be mounted on the inside, and still give you probably around 50 to 100 thou of adjustment in the position of the pipe, which should be enough. You might have to juggle which ones you're tweaking, but it should be enough. And I can always position this wherever I want in the side to give me where I think is the best spot for it. Regardless, in the interest of full disclosure, I did make up one mess up. I did try to break that out, and that just didn't work. It just made the MDF delaminate. So that's just a caution. It didn't work too well. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to tweak my CAD file to increase the thickness. I'm going to cut down on the amount of that offset so that it cuts almost through. And then I'm going to crank out a whole shitload of these things. It takes about 20 minutes to cut each one. Maybe what I might do before I spend a bunch of time working on that is I might look at seeing if I can speed this thing up, which primarily that means speeding up the x-axis, because the x-axis was always the one to drop out first. Anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Got the light behind me, so I probably look like a shadow, but anyways, so rate, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna keep at this thing, and I think that this will probably be one of the last tweaks before I move on to doing something or doing the actual how to make one videos, So hopefully you guys will still be interested by that point. I'm not sure I'm going to do these for the, you know, do-it-yourself one. You know, maybe one of those things where you get the thing going and then you add these things in. We'll see how it goes, because these actually worked out fairly well for having the machine make them. Anyways, that is truly it for the night, guys. Thanks for watching. Aha, fooled you. One other thing I wanted to mention. You might have heard it. I was probably going to crank the volume way down on the camera when I was doing the cutting, but you'll notice, you might have heard some kind of weird noise that was occurring when this thing was getting pretty deep into the cut, and I think it was probably that this bit is just slightly under 1/8, and this is obviously a 1/8 shank, so it's probably actually rubbing along here and was making some noise. That said, this thing sounds like it's making a bit of noise. It's not very durable. I think what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for a... Oh, look at that. There's a visible wobble in there, isn't that? Actually, you know what it is. Yeah, the bearings are wasted in this thing. So I was going to look for something like a trim router, and maybe I'll upgrade this thing at some point. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching.